The greatest victories in life do not come by chance, nor by accident, but through the deliberate and persistent act of strategic thinking. Those who rise above difficulties, who master circumstances, who bend adversity into opportunity, are not the ones who react in haste, but the ones who discipline their minds to see beyond the present struggle. They are not carried away by fear or blinded by anger, but they are guided by vision, foresight, and purpose. The art of strategic thinking is the very power that turns obstacles into stepping stones and challenges into triumph. Consider for a moment the nature of life itself. Every human being is faced with difficulties, each person meets with resistance, and every individual encounters trials that appear insurmountable. Yet it is not the size of the obstacle that determines destiny, it is the method by which one approaches it. The common person sees a wall and stops. The thinker sees the wall and asks, "How can I climb it? How can I go around it? How can I dig beneath it? Or how can I turn it into a doorway?" This difference in perspective is the difference between defeat and victory, between despair and growth. Strategic thinking begins with vision. You must see farther than the moment you are in. You must train your mind to look past the immediate discomfort, the temporary loss, the current confusion, and fix your eyes on the larger picture. A problem that appears devastating today will shrink in size when measured against the span of your lifetime. When you begin to think strategically, you ask yourself, what does this mean for my tomorrow? How can I use this moment to prepare for something greater? Strategic thought is not a reaction to life. It is a direction you choose before life demands it. The untrained mind reacts. It panics, it complains, it wastes energy in resentment and worry. The trained mind pauses, observes, and calculates. Instead of rushing blindly, it steps back and surveys the field. Imagine a chess player who moves pieces without thinking several steps ahead. Defeat comes quickly to such a player, but the master sees the whole board, anticipates the moves of the opponent, and places each piece with intention. Life is the same. Those who live strategically do not move impulsively. They ask, if I choose this path, where will it lead in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years? One of the greatest qualities of strategic thinkers is patience. The ordinary person wants immediate gratification, quick results, fast solutions. But life does not reward impatience. It rewards endurance. The oak tree does not grow in a day, nor does a great mind. The art of outsmarting challenges is the art of waiting for the right moment, planting the right seeds, and guarding them with discipline. When others are restless and hurried, the strategist remains calm, because they know the power of time. They know that a wise delay can yield greater victory than a rushed attempt. But patience alone is not enough. Strategy requires adaptability. No plan, however perfect, remains untouched by reality. The winds of circumstance will always shift, the conditions will always change, and the unexpected will always appear. The question is not whether obstacles will arise. They certainly will. The question is how you respond when they do. The strategist adjusts, recalibrates, and repositions without losing sight of the ultimate destination. Flexibility is the strength of the strategist, for rigidity breaks under pressure, but adaptability endures. To think strategically is also to control one's emotions. Anger clouds judgment, fear paralyzes action, and doubt corrodes vision. When you face a challenge, the first battle is not with the world outside, but with the world inside. If you allow panic to take over, if you let bitterness consume your mind, then no amount of external planning will save you. The strategist disciplines the emotions, harnesses the power of calm, and acts not from impulse, but from clarity. Imagine a storm raging around a mountain. The storm is fierce, but the mountain stands unmoved. So too must your mind stand against the tempests of emotion. Let us remember also that strategic thinking is not merely an intellectual exercise, it is practical. A strategy that remains in the mind without execution is nothing more than fantasy. The great thinkers of history were also great doers. They acted boldly, even while calculating carefully. The true strategist does not wait forever, nor hesitate endlessly. They balance thought with action, vision with effort, and preparation with movement. Strategic thinking is the marriage of foresight and courage. One of the keys to outsmarting challenges is to learn to anticipate them before they appear. Most people are caught off guard because they have not trained themselves to look ahead. They live only in the present, and when difficulties come, they are shaken. But the strategist studies patterns, observes causes and effects, and expects that storms will arise. When the storm comes, they are not surprised, for they have already built their shelter. This anticipation does not eliminate the difficulty, but it gives the strategist the advantage of readiness. A wise person once said that opportunity often hides itself inside of adversity. What appears to be a setback is often the soil of progress. Strategic thinkers ask, what is hidden here that others cannot see? What advantage lies beneath this difficulty? How can I transform this problem into a pathway? The person without strategy sees only loss. The person with strategy sees the seed of gain. History is filled with individuals who turned their darkest hour into their greatest break, through simply because they thought differently about their situation. Strategic thinking also requires discipline in decision making. Each choice you make carries consequences. Many people fail not because they lack intelligence or strength, but because they make decisions without weighing their cost. The strategist counts the cost. They do not spend today's energy in ways that rob them of tomorrow's victory. They prioritize, they eliminate distractions, they focus on what truly matters. Strategy is not about doing everything. It is about doing the right things at the right time. Another crucial element is resourcefulness. Challenges often appear larger than life because they demand resources we believe we do not have. But the strategist knows how to use what is available, how to stretch what seems insufficient, and how to draw power from hidden reserve. Strategic thinkers are not defeated by lack, they are inspired by it. When others say, I cannot because I lack, the strategist says, how can I with what I have? This shift in thought transforms scarcity into innovation. Strategic thinking is not solitary. The greatest victories are achieved through alliances, partnerships, and collaboration. The strategist understands the value of wise counsel, of listening to voices of experience, of learning from others' mistakes and triumphs. No one succeeds alone. The art of strategy includes surrounding yourself with those who sharpen your vision, strengthen your courage, and expand your perspective. The wrong company weakens you, the right company multiplies your strength. The strategist also possesses perseverance, for no strategy, however brilliant, succeeds without persistence. The road to any great achievement is long, filled with detours, setbacks, and delays. Many quit halfway, convinced that the struggle is too great. But the strategist presses on, knowing that the darkest night often precedes the dawn. Perseverance is the weapon that defeats discouragement. It is the power to keep moving even when the reward is not yet visible. Let us not forget that the mind is the battlefield. Challenges do not defeat you until your mind surrenders. Strategic thinking is the shield that guards the mind. It teaches you to reframe your struggles, to see in every difficulty the chance to grow stronger. The strategist says, this challenge is not here to destroy me, but to train me. With that mindset, even pain becomes preparation, and even loss becomes instruction. The art of outsmarting challenges also involves imagination. Strategy is not limited to what has been done before. It dares to envision what has not yet been tried. It breaks the boundaries of tradition and creates new paths. When confronted with a dead end, the strategist does not accept it as final. They imagine alternatives, they invent new methods, they discover unseen opportunities. Imagination is the compass that points beyond the obvious, yet imagination without discipline is chaos. This is why true strategic thinking combines creativity with order. It is a balance between dreaming and structuring, between envisioning and executing. The strategist lives in both worlds, the world of possibility and the world of practicality. They soar in vision but walk steadily in reality. This balance is the secret to turning challenges into victories. The art of strategic thinking is not reserved for generals on battlefields or leaders of nations. It is for every person in every walk of life. Whether you are building a business, raising a family, pursuing education, or overcoming personal hardship, the principles of strategy apply to you. Every day presents decisions that shape your future, and every decision is an opportunity to apply strategy. The smallest choice made with foresight can lead to the greatest transformation. Remember that the power to outsmart any challenge lies not outside of you, but within. Life will not hand you a perfectly smooth path. It will confront you with resistance, but resistance is the very condition that strengthens the mind. Just as muscles grow through pressure, so too does your ability to think strategically grow through adversity. Welcome the challenge, for in it lies your opportunity to rise. So I urge you today, cultivate your mind as a strategist. Do not rush where patience is required. Do not surrender where perseverance is demanded. Do not fear where courage is called for. Train yourself to step back, to observe, to calculate, to imagine, and then to act with clarity. In doing so, you will find that no challenge is too great, no obstacle too heavy, and no circumstance too impossible to overcome. For strategy is the great equalizer. It gives strength to the weak, direction to the lost, and victory to the determined. And in the end, the measure of your life will not be the obstacles you faced, but the way you faced them. Were you defeated by them, or did you use them to rise higher? Did you complain, or did you calculate? Did you quit, or did you persist? The choice is yours, and it begins with the way you think. The art of strategic thinking is the art of mastering yourself, of disciplining your mind, of training your vision, and of aligning your actions with your higher purpose. Master this art, and you will not only outsmart any challenge, you will transform every challenge into the very foundation of your greatness. The mind that learns to think strategically becomes a compass in the storms of life. It is not that the strategist avoids all difficulties, but that they navigate them with wisdom. Every storm carries both danger and opportunity. Where some are blinded by the rain and battered by the wind, the strategist sees where the storm will break, where it will pass, and where the sunlight will reappear. In the darkest hour, they remind themselves that no night lasts forever. They learn to hold their ground when others scatter, because they know that the test of endurance separates the temporary from the timeless. Strategic thinking demands that you rise above the noise of the present moment. The world is filled with distractions, with voices pulling you in 100 directions, each one demanding immediate reaction. But the strategist silences the noise and listens only to what aligns with the larger vision. They choose to conserve energy for battles that matter, rather than wasting themselves on every small irritation. This ability to distinguish between what is urgent and what is important is one of the most valuable tools of the strategist. For many people lose themselves in endless activity, never realizing that not every movement leads to progress. Another vital aspect of outsmarting challenges is the ability to detach from pride. Many are defeated not by lack of intelligence, but by their refusal to adapt, to admit mistakes, to change course when the evidence demands it. Pride insists on winning every small battle, even at the cost of the war. Strategy, on the other hand, is willing to retreat today in order to advance tomorrow. It is not concerned with proving itself right in the moment, but with achieving ultimate victory. The wise thinker understands that admitting error is not weakness, it is strength, for it clears the way to a better plan. Discipline is the silent companion of every great strategist. Without discipline, ideas remain dreams, and plans dissolve into wishful thinking. Discipline is the force that transforms strategy into consistent action. It is the daily practice of aligning your steps with your vision. It is rising early when comfort tempts you to stay in bed, persisting in study when distraction calls you away, holding your tongue when anger urges you to speak. Every act of discipline sharpens your strategic mind, for it teaches you control, focus, and mastery over yourself. But strategy is not only about the self, it also involves understanding others. To outsmart challenges, you must understand people, for many obstacles are not material but human in nature. The strategist learns to see beyond the surface of human behavior, to discern motives, to predict reactions, to anticipate responses. They do not fight blindly against people, but learn how to influence, persuade, and redirect energy. They recognize that sometimes the greatest victory is not in confrontation, but in redirection. True strategy does not always conquer through force. It often conquers through wisdom. One of the most overlooked qualities of the strategist is persistence in learning. No person, however wise, can outthink every challenge if they stop growing. Strategic thinking requires constant sharpening, continuous expansion of knowledge, and the humility to remain a student of life. The strategist reads, listens, observes, and reflects. They gather insights from history, from mentors, from their own failures, and from the experiences of others. Every lesson becomes a tool, every experience becomes a resource, every mistake becomes a stepping stone. As you embrace this art, you must remember that every challenge has within it two voices, the voice of defeat and the voice of opportunity. The untrained mind hears only defeat, but the strategist trains the ear to listen for opportunity. And when you choose to follow that voice, you begin to rise above the limitations of circumstance. You begin to realize that no situation is absolute, no obstacle is permanent, and no challenge is final. There is always a way forward for the one who refuses to give up and chooses to think with clarity and vision. The world belongs not to those who react in haste, but to those who plan with foresight. It belongs to those who can turn patience into power, adaptability into strength, and discipline into destiny. When you walk this path of strategic thinking, you become more than a survivor. You become a creator of your own future. And when the challenges of life rise to confront you, you will not be found trembling. You will stand ready, calm, and determined, for you will know that no matter how great the challenge, your mind has already prepared the way to victory. Strategic thinking is, above all else, the art of governing yourself when circumstances seem to be beyond control. It is the power to pause in the heat of difficulty and choose a deliberate path instead of being dragged by impulse. Most people fall victim to their environment because they never learned to pause. They never developed the inner command to stop, observe, and analyze. But the strategist knows that between stimulus and response lies a sacred space. The space where choices are made, where futures are determined, where victories are prepared. To outsmart a challenge, you must first master that space. Life constantly presents you with crossroads. At every crossroad, you can choose haste or you can choose strategy. The hasty person is driven by emotion, by the desire for immediate relief, by the fear of missing out. The strategist, however, is not enslaved by urgency. They take the time to weigh the consequences, to see not only the first effect, but the chain of effects that follow. They choose the path that leads not to comfort today, but to fulfillment tomorrow. And though their pace may appear slower, their progress is more certain, for they walk with intention. To outsmart challenges also means to cultivate foresight, Foresight is the gift of seeing trouble before it matures, of recognizing the seed before it becomes a tree. Many difficulties become overwhelming because they were ignored in their early stages. The strategist does not wait for small cracks to become gaping holes. They address problems while they are still manageable. This foresight is not mystical. It is the result of keen observation, of paying attention, of training oneself to notice the subtle signs that others overlook. By doing so, the strategist avoids unnecessary battles and conserves energy for greater victories. Another essential element of strategic thought is courage. No amount of planning can substitute for the courage to act. There comes a point where analysis must give way to bold movement. The strategist knows when to wait and when to strike, when to remain silent and when to speak, when to retreat and when to advance. They do not allow fear of failure to paralyze them, for they understand that inaction is often more costly than failure itself. Every challenge carries risk, but the strategist embraces calculated risk, knowing that fortune favors the prepared and the courageous. Strategic thinkers also recognize the value of simplicity. While others complicate matters with unnecessary detail, the strategist cuts through the noise and focuses on the essence of the problem. They understand that clarity is power. To outsmart a challenge, you must first define it clearly. Vagueness breeds confusion, but clarity directs energy. By reducing a complex difficulty to its core, the strategist sees solutions that elude others. They know that the human mind, when clear and focused, can achieve extraordinary results. Finally, the art of strategic thinking is deeply tied to resilience. No strategy is flawless, no plan unfolds without friction, and no thinker is exempt from mistakes. The strategist accepts this truth with humility. When setbacks occur, they do not abandon the vision. They adjust. When one door closes, they search for another. When they stumble, they rise. Their resilience is not blind stubbornness, but an intelligent persistence that adapts without surrendering. Resilience is the heartbeat of strategy, for it ensures that no defeat is final and no obstacle insurmountable. When you live with this mindset, every challenge becomes a classroom, every failure a lesson, every delay a preparation, and every victory a stepping stone to greater mastery. Strategic thinking transforms life from a series of accidents into a journey of intention. It grants you authority over your future, strength in the present, and wisdom from the past. And when you face the next great challenge, you will not ask, "Why me?" but instead, "How can I turn this into my advantage?" That question is the mark of the strategist, and it is the beginning of every lasting triumph. Every challenge that enters your life carries with it a hidden lesson and a hidden reward. Those who think without strategy see only the weight of the burden and complain about its presence. Those who think strategically see the opportunity to grow, to strengthen, to advance. It is not the challenge itself that defines your path, but the meaning you give to it and the response you choose. In this truth lies one of the greatest secrets of achievement. Circumstances are powerless against a disciplined and strategic mind. The storms of life cannot sink a ship whose captain knows how to steer. To think strategically is to accept responsibility for your future. It is to recognize that you cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can always control how you prepare, how you adapt, and how you respond. Responsibility is not a burden, it is the key to freedom. It is the declaration that you are not a victim of chance, but the designer of your destiny. The strategist takes ownership of decisions, of actions, of thoughts, and in doing so, gains mastery over outcomes. There is also great power in perspective. Many challenges appear larger than they are simply because the mind magnifies them. Strategic thinking reduces them to size. When viewed from the mountaintop of perspective, what seemed like an unconquerable wall often reveals itself as a temporary hurdle. The strategist lifts their gaze above the present valley and looks toward the horizon, and in that wider vision they find courage to take the next step. It is the next step, taken with intention, that leads to the unraveling of difficulty. Strategic thought thrives in silence as well. In a world filled with noise, distraction, and constant pressure to act quickly, the ability to pause and reflect becomes a superpower. The strategist knows that clarity is born in quiet moments. They step away from chaos to evaluate, to ask deeper questions, to weigh possibilities. Silence is not inactivity, it is preparation. It is in silence that strategies are sharpened, that emotions are calmed, and that direction is discovered. Those who neglect silence often rush into traps. Those who embrace it often move with certainty. A challenge often seeks to intimidate, to make you believe it holds more power over you than you possess within yourself. Strategic thinking dismantles that illusion. By breaking down the challenge into smaller parts, by identifying leverage points, by seeing what others miss, the strategist turns overwhelming problems into manageable tasks. What once looked impossible becomes inevitable when approached with structure, foresight, and persistence. The mountain is climbed not in one leap, but in steady steps guided by vision. The strategist also trains the mind to recognize timing. Not every battle must be fought immediately, and not every opportunity must be seized at once. Timing is the invisible thread that weaves strategy into success. To act too soon is to fail from impatience. To act too late is to fail from hesitation. But to act at the right moment, that is mastery. The strategist studies seasons, observes patterns, and learns when to wait, when to move, and when to strike. In doing so, they waste neither energy nor opportunity. Strategic thinking requires faith, not blind faith, but faith in one's ability to endure, to create, to find a way forward. It is the belief that no matter how difficult the present appears, there is always a path to growth. This faith keeps the strategist steady when others crumble. It keeps them searching for solutions when others have surrendered. It keeps them walking through valleys because they trust there is a peak ahead. Without faith, strategy dissolves into despair. With faith, strategy becomes a compass through the darkest night. And so, the art of strategic thinking is more than just a method for solving problems. It is a way of living. It is a constant practice of seeing beyond the surface, choosing with intention, acting with discipline, adapting with wisdom, and persevering with courage. It transforms ordinary people into visionaries, turns obstacles into opportunities, and shapes destiny from the raw material of challenge. It is the quiet power that bends circumstances to serve you rather than enslave you. The strategist knows that every step taken today is a seed planted for tomorrow. Life is a field, and every action, thought, and decision is a seed that must one day bear fruit. Those who scatter their energy without direction find themselves with weeds instead of a harvest. Those who act with strategy, however, plant with intention. They choose carefully where to invest time, where to invest energy, and where to invest focus. This is why their results appear extraordinary to others. It is not chance, it is the compound effect of consistent strategic choices over time. In every challenge, there are countless possible responses. The ordinary mind sees only one or two, but the strategic mind expands its vision and creates alternatives. Instead of saying, "I have no choice," the strategist asks, "What choices have I not yet seen?" This shift in thought alone is enough to change the course of destiny. For in truth, life rarely leaves us without options. It only disguises them beneath fear, confusion, or impatience. The strategist digs beneath appearances until options are uncovered, and from these options chooses the one that aligns with long-term victory. Another quality of the strategist is self-mastery. To outsmart challenges, you must first outsmart yourself, your laziness, your doubts, your excuses, and your impulses. Many people fail, not because the obstacle was too great, but because they became their own greatest obstacle. The strategist refuses to sabotage their own progress. They replace excuse with effort, complaint with calculation, and distraction with focus. Each day becomes a battlefield against complacency, and each small victory of discipline builds the foundation for conquering external challenges. Strategic thinking also draws strength from persistence in vision. Vision is the light that guides through the fog of uncertainty. Without vision, even the best strategy falters, for there is no destination to direct the plan. With vision, however, the strategist endures confusion, loss, and delay because they know where they are heading. They are like a sailor guided by a distant star. Though storms may toss the ship, the star remains fixed, and the course remains true. Vision gives meaning to suffering and direction to effort. It must also be remembered that the art of strategy is not about domination over others, but about mastery over circumstance. Outsmarting a challenge is not proving superiority, it is proving resilience. It is demonstrating that you are not broken by what confronts you, but shaped by it. True strategy does not seek to crush for the sake of pride, but to rise for the sake of purpose. This is why the victories of the strategist are lasting. They are not fueled by arrogance, but by alignment with a higher aim. And so, when difficulties press in, when the weight of life seems too heavy, when the way forward is unclear, remember this: you carry within you the ability to outsmart the very thing that seeks to defeat you. Your mind is the key, your strategy the weapon, and your perseverance the shield. You are never without options, never without power, never without a way to turn the obstacle into a stepping stone. To live as a strategist is to live with courage, foresight, patience, and relentless determination. It is to know that no challenge is greater than the mind that refuses to surrender. In the end, the art of strategic thinking is the art of living with intention. It is the discipline to pause when others rush, the courage to act when others hesitate, and the wisdom to adapt when others resist change. Challenges will never cease, but their power over you will depend entirely on the mindset you bring to them. With foresight, patience, resilience, and clarity, you can turn every obstacle into an opening, every setback into a stepping stone, and every trial into a teacher. Remember this truth: life does not reward those who react blindly, but those who think deliberately, act decisively, and persist consistently. Master the way you think, and you will outsmart any challenge, rise above every difficulty, and create a future that reflects not your fears, but your highest vision.